A breakthrough for scientists after they had a 20-minute conversation with a humpback whale.
For 60 million years, the largest brain on Earth has been trying to talk to us. We never listened. Then a team of scientists pointed an artificial intelligence at 9,000 whale recordings and discovered something that should not exist. An alphabet. Hidden inside clicks we had been ignoring for half a century. Here is the deal. What I'm about to tell you changes everything we thought we knew about animal intelligence. In 2024, researchers cracked open the communication system of sperm whales, and what they found inside was so complex, so structured, so disturbingly similar to human language that it forced scientists to ask a question nobody was ready for. Are we the only species on this planet that speaks? The answer used to be obvious. It is not anymore. The data is published. The studies are peer-reviewed.
Hello? 1, 2.
And the implications are so massive that governments and legal scholars are already scrambling to figure out what comes next. Body segment 1. The clicks. Nobody understood. For more than 50 years, scientists have been listening to sperm whales talk. Not sing. Talk. Unlike humpbacks, which produce long, haunting melodies, sperm whales communicate in rapid bursts of clicks, short, sharp pulses fired through the ocean like Morse code. They call them coders. And for decades, researchers assumed they were simple. Identity signals, maybe a greeting, a handful of patterns repeated over and over like a name tag pinned to a dark suit. Nothing more. That assumption held for half a century, until a team of scientists, a Caribbean island, and a machine learning algorithm proved it catastrophically wrong. Here is what everyone thought they knew. A sperm whale clicks. Another whale clicks back. The pattern identifies which family they belong to, like a last name spoken in the dark. Caribbean whales use one set of coders. Pacific whales use another. Scientists catalogued about 21 coder types for the Caribbean population, and moved on. Case closed. Simple creatures, simple signals. But think about that for a second. Sperm whales have the largest brains of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. 6 times the size of a human brain. They live in tight matrilineal families, grandmothers, mothers, daughters, bound together for life. They babysit each other's calves. They mourn their dead. They dive 2 kilometers into total darkness and somehow coordinate hunts in the pitch black. And the scientific consensus was that their entire communication system boiled down to 21 patterns. That never made sense, and a few stubborn researchers knew it. Body segment 2. The man who refused to leave. In 2005, a young Canadian biologist named Shane Gero sailed to a tiny volcanic island in the eastern Caribbean called Dominica. He was there to study sperm whales, not for a summer, for a lifetime. He founded something called the Dominica Sperm Whale Project, a long-term study that would eventually span 2 decades and thousands of hours of direct observation.
In 2005, I started the Dominica Sperm Whale Project, and over the last 14 years, I've literally spent thousands of hours in the company of sperm whale families.
Most researchers visit whale populations for weeks, maybe months, then move on to the next grant. Gero stayed. He learned to recognize individual whales by the notches on their tails. He watched calves grow into mothers. He gave them names, Fingers, Rounder, Lady Oracle, and mapped their families across generations. And here is why that matters. Sperm whales live in tight family units. Grandmothers at the center, daughters and calves clustered close. They don't just travel together. They raise each other's young. They take turns diving while others babysit near the surface. When a calf is learning to click, the older females hover nearby, patient, attentive, almost coaching. Gero watched these behaviors unfold year after year. He saw the same whales greet each other after long separations. He saw mothers position themselves between their calves and approaching boats. He saw something that looked unmistakably like culture. Behaviors passed down, not through genes, but through example. And every single interaction was accompanied by clicks, constant, deliberate, structured clicking. The more time Gero spent with these families, the more one question consumed him. What are they actually saying to each other? Body segment 3. The pattern that didn't fit Here is what started to bother Jero and his colleagues after years of recording. The clicks were not random, that much was obvious, but they were also not fixed. The same whale would produce different coders depending on who she was talking to, when she was talking, and what was happening around her. Whales in the middle of a group conversation adjusted their timing in real time, matching each other, responding, modifying their clicks in ways that looked less like an alarm call and more like a dialogue. And it got stranger. Sometimes a whale would add an extra click at the end of a coda, just one, like a punctuation mark nobody had noticed before. Other times, two whales exchanging coders would subtly stretch or compress their timing to mirror each other. Not identical copies, adjustments, as if they were responding to something specific the other whale had just said. Jero's team also noticed something about context. A whale clicking, while surrounded by her family unit, sounded different from the same whale clicking near strangers. The rhythm shifted, the speed changed. Even the spacing between individual clicks seemed to vary based on the social situation. This was not a name tag. This was not a simple identity signal repeated on a loop. This looked like a system, a flexible, context-dependent system with rules nobody had written down yet. But Jero couldn't prove it. He had thousands of hours of recordings and a growing suspicion that sperm whale communication was far more sophisticated than anyone had admitted. What he didn't have was a way to see the full picture. Body segment 4. The technology that didn't exist yet. But proving that these clicks carried real complexity, not just variation, was impossible with the tools available. Human ears cannot track the microsecond differences between one coda and another. Traditional acoustic software could categorize clicks by their rhythm, but it missed everything else: the subtle shifts in speed, the extra clicks added at the end, the tiny timing changes that seemed deliberate but couldn't be measured. It was like trying to read a novel through a keyhole. You could see individual letters, but the sentences were invisible. To decode something this complex, researchers needed a technology that could process thousands of recordings simultaneously, detect patterns no human could hear, and do it without knowing the answer in advance. That technology arrived in 2020, and it came from an unlikely place. Not a marine biology lab, not an oceanography institute. It came from the world of artificial intelligence. The same machine learning systems being trained to translate human languages, recognize faces, and predict what you will type next on your phone. A group of researchers realized something remarkable. The algorithms built to decode human speech could be pointed at a completely different species. You didn't need to know the language first, you just needed enough data. And thanks to Jero's 2 decades of obsessive recording off the coast of Dominica, the data existed. Thousands of coders, hundreds of whales, years of behavioral context captured alongside every single click. All it took was someone willing to listen at a scale no human brain could manage, and a machine that didn't need to sleep. Body segment 5. The Underwater Listening Station. The project was called CETI, the Cetacean Translation Initiative. It launched in 2020 with $33 million in funding, and a team of more than 50 scientists from 8 institutions: artificial, intelligence experts, cryptographers, linguists, marine biologists, and robotics engineers. Their goals sounded like science fiction. Build a 20-kilometer underwater listening studio off the coast of Dominica, attach custom-designed recording tags to living sperm whales, capture every click in high fidelity, and then feed it all into machine learning algorithms trained to find structure in chaos. Think about what that actually required. There is no store where you buy whale listening equipment. Every piece of technology had to be designed from scratch. The recording tags were built by engineers at Harvard, tiny devices attached to whale skin using suction cups inspired by the anatomy of clingfish. 3 synchronized microphones on each tag captured sound from multiple whales at different distances. The tags could track depth, movement, temperature, and orientation, all while riding on an animal diving thousands of feet into the abyss. Overhead, gentle aerial drones followed whale families at the surface. Underwater, a network of hydrophones recorded every click within the listening zone, around the clock. The data was staggering. Not hundreds of coders, not thousands. The team was building toward millions, enough raw material to train an algorithm the way you train a child learning a new language. By listening. Body segment 6. The alphabet that shouldn't exist. In 2024, the results landed, and they stunned the scientific world. Published in Nature Communications, the study analyzed nearly 9,000 coders recorded from the whale families Gero had been following for almost 20 years. The AI didn't just confirm that sperm whale clicks were complex, it revealed something nobody had predicted. The clicks had a combinatorial structure, rhythm, tempo, ornamentation, and a musical quality the researchers called rubato, that could be mixed and matched to create at least 143 distinct sound combinations. The team called it the sperm whale phonetic alphabet. Let that sink in for a moment. An alphabet. Not a fixed list of calls, an alphabet. The difference is everything. A fixed list means a whale can say 20 things. An alphabet means a whale can combine elements to say an almost unlimited number of things, the same way humans combine a small set of sounds to build words, sentences, and entire languages. The researchers broke it down into 4 building blocks. Rhythm, the sequence of intervals between clicks. Tempo, the total duration of a coda. Rubato, subtle stretching and compressing of timing between adjacent coders, like a musician playing slightly behind the beat. And ornamentation, an extra click added to the end, a tiny flourish that changed the structure of the call. Each of these features could be freely combined with the others. And here is the part that shook the linguistics community. This kind of combinatorial system, where individually, meaningless elements are mixed to create meaningful units, has a name in human language science. It is called duality of patterning. Until this study, it had never been confirmed in any species on Earth other than humans. The lead researcher, Daniela Rus from MIT, said the discovery challenges the long-held belief that complex communication is uniquely human, but not everyone agreed. Some scientists pushed back hard. They argued the word alphabet was misleading, that clicks are not letters, and coders are not words. Others questioned whether the extra clicks were deliberate signals, or just production errors, the whale equivalent of saying, The debate exploded across the scientific world, but the data was there. 9,000 coders, 20 years of recordings, and a pattern too structured to be noise. Body segment 7. The vowels in the deep. Then, in late 2025, a second study pushed the discovery even further. A linguistics team led by Professor Gashper, Bagouche, at the University of California, Berkeley found something buried inside the coders that left researchers speechless. When the whale clicks were sped up and the silences removed, the sounds contained spectral patterns nearly identical to human vowels. 2 distinct vowel-like sounds emerged, one resembling the human R, another resembling E. The whales weren't just clicking, they were shaping their clicks the way we shape air with our tongues and lips to form speech. Now pay attention to why this matters. For decades, scientists compared sperm whale coders to Morse code, a digital system of on-off signals, dots and dashes, nothing more. That comparison was wrong. Morse code is binary. You tap or you don't, but vowels are analog. They carry information in their shape, the frequency, the duration, the trajectory of the sound as it changes over time. Human vowels differ in length, timing, pitch, and direction. The whale vowels had the exact same properties. The spectral patterns matched so closely that the researchers could describe them using human letters. And here is the detail that stunned Bagouche himself. The whales showed signs of co-articulation. When switching between an R coda and an E coda, they adjusted the first click to match what was coming next. Humans do this instinctively. Your mouth starts forming the next sound before you finish the current one. The whales were doing the same thing, in the deep ocean, in total darkness, using a sound production system that evolved completely independently from ours. 2 species separated by 90 million years of evolution. 2 entirely different bodies. And somehow, the same structural logic underneath the sound. Bagouche put it simply. In the past, researchers thought of whale communication as Morse code. This paper showed their calls are more like very, very slow vowels, suggesting a complexity that approaches human language. Body segment 8. What it means, and what nobody can answer yet. Here is the part that keeps scientists up at night. Nobody knows what the whales are saying. Not yet. The phonetic alphabet is mapped, the vowel patterns are confirmed, the combinatorial structure is real, but meaning, the actual content of these conversations, remains locked behind a wall that no algorithm has breached. The researchers can predict when a whale is about to dive based on its clicks, They can identify which family a whale belongs to by its coda patterns. But the equivalent of translating a sentence, understanding what one whale is telling another, is still years away. And there is a deeper problem. With human languages, machine translation works because we already have the answers. Feed an algorithm 1 million English sentences alongside their French translations, and it learns the rules. With sperm whales, there is no answer key, no bilingual dictionary, no Rosetta Stone sitting on the ocean floor. The algorithm has to learn meaning from behavior, watching what whales do after they click, tracking which codas appear before a dive, which ones signal danger, which ones seem to bind a family together at the surface. It is like decoding an alien language with no translator and no shared reference point. David Gruber, the founder of Project CETI, admits they have a long way to go. He says the team is essentially infant sperm whales right now, listening, absorbing, slowly beginning to connect sounds to actions. But he believes the next 5 years will change everything. Millions of codas are being collected, the algorithms are getting sharper, and the ethical questions are already arriving ahead of the answers. If sperm whales truly possess a language, with structure, with vowels, with combinatorial grammar, what does that mean for how we treat them? Lawyers at New York University have already partnered with Project CETI to explore whether these discoveries could lead to legal rights for whales. In 2024, Indigenous leaders from New Zealand and the Cook Islands signed a treaty recognizing whales as legal persons. The science is moving fast, the law is trying to keep up. And somewhere off the coast of Dominica, a grandmother whale named Lady Oracle is clicking to her family in a language we are only now beginning to hear. Think about what this means. For centuries, we drew a hard line between humans and every other species on Earth. We said animals feel pain, but they do not think. We said they communicate, but they do not have language. We built laws, industries, and entire philosophies on that distinction. Now a team of 50 scientists, 2 decades of patience, and a machine learning algorithm have put a crack in that wall. Sperm whales have an alphabet. They have vowels. They have a combinatorial system that mirrors the deepest structures of human speech. And we still do not know what they are saying. The biggest question is not whether whale language exists. The evidence says it does. The biggest question is what happens when we finally understand it and discover they have been saying something we were never prepared to hear. If you think the world needs to hear this story, subscribe because the next discovery is already on its way.